When you're teaching OpenSciEd, especially early on, it's common for things to take longer than expected. A 15-minute discussion might grow into 25, an activity plan for one day can easily stretch into the next. This can feel challenging, especially if you're used to tight, efficient pacing. So why take the pacing hit in the first place? Why not just keep things moving like before? Here's the hard truth. OpenSciEd asks students to do something different, and that means we need to teach differently too. It's not slower for the sake of slow, it's slower because it's deeper. OpenSciEd gives students ownership over the learning. They're not just receiving information, they're figuring things out. And that takes time, because sense-making isn't a straight line. Teachers have found that when teaching OpenSciEd for the first time, units take about 1.5 to 2 times as long as the teacher edition predicts. And honestly, any time we do something for the first time, it takes us longer to do it well. Teachers also share that, just like with anything else, when we get more practice, it gets faster and easier with time. But there are ways to make the pacing feel more manageable for your first time. To start, when time starts slipping away during class, what helps most is knowing the goal of the activity. Not the whole big picture goal, just what students need to get out of this part. Teachers new to OpenSciEd often assume they have to get through more than is actually necessary. But sometimes all students need is one key idea, just enough to keep the storyline moving into the next part. Like in a navigation section, where the goal might just be reflecting on what we figured out and considering how to test these ideas. That doesn't mean full investigation planning or hearing from every student. Just a few ideas briefly surfaced is enough for this part of the lesson. A quick tip that can make a big difference is to use a timer. Not to stay rigid, but to stay intentional. OpenSciEd is designed as a spiral, which means ideas come up, get explored, and then come back around in deeper ways. That means you don't have to push for full mastery in every moment. It's okay to move on when students still have open questions, because they'll revisit and refine those ideas as the unit progresses. A timer can help you support that kind of momentum. If we linger too long, students can lose energy or feel stuck. Aiming to wrap most activities within about twice the suggested time helps the class keep moving while still leaving room for meaningful engagement. So use the timer to hold yourself accountable. When it goes off, pause and check in with yourself. Are we close enough to the goal to move on? Is this a moment worth extending, or are we off track? If you're off track, don't stress. There are sample prompts in the teacher edition you can pull from on the fly to help guide the class back. And if you do decide to extend the time, that's okay too. Just be sure to reset the timer for your next checkpoint. Try adding about half the suggested time, especially if the conversation is rich or you're helping students refocus on the learning goal. It might feel new or strange to you and your students to wrap up an activity that feels unfinished. You could say something like, "Let's pause and jot down our questions on sticky notes." Or something like, "We've figured out a lot, and it's okay we didn't figure out everything. We'll come back to this." And here's a tip. In the moment or after the lesson, make a quick note about when things took longer than expected or when students got stuck in an unexpected place. That information is super helpful, not just for tweaking tomorrow's plan, but for when you come back to teach this unit again. This kind of on-the-fly reflection is something lots of seasoned OpenSciEd teachers do. It helps you stay responsive and build your own unit toolkit over time. Remember, this is a long game. You're not just pacing a single lesson, you're pacing a learning journey. Some ideas will click now, others will take root and bloom later, maybe in the next lesson, maybe 3 lessons from now. Experienced teachers suggest using the storyline to find clarity in how an idea shows up later in the unit. One teacher reflected that when they first started with OpenSciEd, they would teach a lesson and spend too much time on finalizing an idea, only to find out that it was coming up 2 lessons later. Having the storyline printed out and referencing it to see where we are headed can go a long way to help you keep things moving, because you know we'll get there at another time. So give yourself grace. Know the goal, use a timer, trust that you'll revisit an idea. Capture the moment and keep moving. You're not behind. You're building something deeper with your students.